Today's discussion is who's going to be the Jets quarterback next year. Who is going to lead this team in a season that is likely going to be lost again? I was looking at the opponents for next year, and I can maybe see 4 wins, so another high draft pick. So we're going to either have a bridge guy, or we're going to have someone that they bring in from another organization, either trade or free agency. And for those of you that are jumping down my throat right now and telling me we should stick with Aaron Rodgers, just save it. Okay? We've done enough content on Aaron Rodgers. I've given my opinions on why he should not be here next year. Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example of the stats not telling the whole story. His stats are kind of mediocre, but the play and the decision making is terrible, and the money just doesn't make sense. So that's all I'm going to say about Aaron Rodgers. Now, next year, you still have Tyrod Taylor on the team. And I could totally see a new regime just leaving him there, keeping him on his current contract, and having him be a bridge quarterback, and probably have Jordan Travis. Hopefully, he's feeling all right as the backup. I would be totally fine with that, knowing that it's basically a lost season. And we're kind of looking at the 2026 draft for quarterbacks because let's be real, the 2025 draft for quarterbacks is not great. And there are guys currently in the league that are young right now that are better than anybody coming out of college, in my opinion. Besides maybe Cam Ward, but you're not going to get the opportunity to draft Cam Ward. And Cam Ward would still be probably number 4 or 5 compared to even the 2024 draft. So that's that. So Tyrod Taylor is option number 1 as your bridge quarterback. You agree? That's kind of your option 1, right?
Maybe.
Maybe. So tell me who would be. Okay, so let's start that. Tell me who's your number 1 option for a bridge quarterback.
Well, bridge, yes, but I'm not necessarily sold that we're going to be going in that route. Um,
Okay.
I keep looking across the NFL landscape, and if we're really taking a deep dive at teams around the league, I know this has been mentioned in a couple of spaces recently, something that I've really thought about. I think there's some guys that are very good who might not be on this team in the future and may be able to flip them for something. And when I look at the Minnesota Vikings and I see a guy like Sam Darnold performing the way that he's performing, I don't see them letting him walk out the door. The guy is potentially an MVP finalist. If they win this Sunday, they're going to have the 1 seed, and you're going to let him walk out the door for a
They
guy.
can't.
And I understand McCarthy's had 2 surgeries. That he's like what 21 years old, and for most scouts that we've spoken to, including Gary Myers, say that he'd probably be the no doubt number 1 quarterback in this draft class coming out. So if the Vikings decide that they're going to pay Darnold, maybe they start listening to offers for JJ McCarthy. And I don't think that there's going to be teams at the top. The teams at the top of the draft, the Giants, the Raiders types, they're going to be drafting the Shador Sanders or the Cam Wards, which might leave us, say we're 6, 7, or 8. Maybe you bundle that pick with an active player because clearly the Vikings are trying to win right now. I'm the biggest fan there is of guys like Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. But at the end of the day, as we learned this year, as we learn every single year, Pat, it doesn't matter who you have. If Mark Sanchez is your quarterback, you're not winning. If, back in the day, Sam Darnold's your quarterback with us, we can't develop him, you're not winning. McCarthy got to sit for a year, learn NFL schemes with the best of them in Minnesota this year. Depending on who we bring in, if it's God forbid, a Cliff Kingsbury type, a guy like that who knows how to develop quarterbacks but can't be a head coach, maybe McCarthy could be in a package with an active player and a first round pick this year. Or hell, if you think that highly of him as your franchise quarterback, I would give my 1 and 2 this year. I mean, how many GMs come in, get a lame duck year like we're going to have, get to draft. And so we're talking about not being competitive till what? The earliest 2027? I don't see Woody Johnson. He's the type of owner that's going to say, we're going to throw the next 2 years away, be non competitive when you have the Sauce Gardners, the Brees Halls, the Garrett Wilsons, the Jermaine Johnsons, all who are going to have to get paid. So it's either you're going to have to trade all of them
Yeah.
and not be competitive till 2027, or you're going to make the move and say, you know what? Maybe McCarthy does not win the job next year and has to sit behind Tyrod Taylor, but you've accelerated that process. Maybe in 2026, that's when you're going to go for it, where he's still on his rookie deal. You still have that fifth-year option. You still have the tag you could tag him in down the line. So that's the kind of prospect that I'm looking at personally. I know a lot of Jeff fans won't agree with me, and that's perfectly fine, but everybody keeps saying Arch Manning. Oh my gosh, Arch Manning. I got some news for you. I am the biggest Longhorn fan you will ever meet. Shout out to Longhorns beating ASU. Arch Manning, I don't see it yet. He doesn't throw the ball at Texas. It's his second year, and he's going to come out after not throwing the ball at all. He's a running quarterback right now at Texas. He's going to be a project coming into the NFL. If his last name was not Manning, Pat, I'm not saying nobody would know who he is, because clearly he was the top quarterback coming out of high school, but so was Matt Barkley. Okay? I mean, we need to wait and see. You have a championship winning quarterback sitting in Minnesota, developing under the best tutelage potentially there is, and say you bring in a Liam Cohen. That could be a recipe for success. Look what he's doing with Baker Mayfield down in Tampa Bay right now. That's where I'd be looking for the next head coach. I know I'm going on type of a rant, but that's the player I'd be going after, J.J.
So
McCarthy.
okay, so I am for bringing in JJ McCarthy. I was going to go down that route. But let's be real. I don't think unless the Vikings want a top 10 pick, which of course they could certainly want that. They don't have any real reason to get rid of McCarthy because he is on a rookie deal. And if he is that good and you still have Sam Darnold, you have 15 years worth of good quarterback play ahead of you if he stays on your roster, right? Any team would die for something like that. Unless they are deciding, we want that top 10 pick because we're drafting later in the draft. We want that top 10 pick and we want to go for all of it soon. Now, I get it. I totally get it. I would be on board with bringing in JJ McCarthy. It is certainly the first and probably the most important question to any GM or head coach that's coming in to sit with the team. However, I want to see this team because we still don't know what JJ McCarthy is, technically. I am more on board with bringing in someone like Justin Fields. I can see, look, he can play. We know he can play. And he didn't get benched in Pittsburgh, right? For his bad play, really. He got benched because Russell Wilson was coming back. That's different. Okay? He has, let's see here. Where is it? 45 touchdown passes to 31 interceptions so far in his career. Okay? 19 rushing touchdown passes. Oh, and by the way, he's from Ohio State. He played with who? Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
You want to make Garrett Wilson happy? You want to keep him around long term? You want to give him a contract? Bring in someone he's played with before and has had a lot of success with before and is probably very close to. Right? Who knows? Maybe you get more out of Rucker too. He's got that Ohio State connection with Justin Fields. So I would be very on board with bringing in someone like him. And if you're bringing in JJ McCarthy, like you want, and you're spending a 1 and a 2 or 1, or you're paying that price for him, if he, God forbid, doesn't beat out Tyrod Taylor and sits behind them, that's a failure. You're not spending that amount of draft capital trade draft capital on a player to sit behind Tyrod freaking Taylor. Okay? You want a mobile quarterback. You want someone who's got a really good arm. You get Justin Fields in the building and you don't look back. It's a flyer. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to be spending a top pick on him, right? You could spend a lot less capital to get him in the building. You know what he is. You know what his strong suits are. He's got a good relationship with someone already on your number one receiver on the team. He's got a great relationship with him already. You bring him in, and it's a flyer. If it blows up in your face, you have another top 10 pick, which I hope it doesn't happen. And you could take a quarterback in 2026. If it works, fantastic. You have your quarterback. That is where I sit with the Jets 2025 quarterback situation. I know there are people out there that think they should bring in Sam Darnold. I would be all for that. But again, there is no way in hell the Vikings are going to let him walk. They can't. How do you watch the way he's played and just let him go? You have to sign him to a long-term deal. And if they're stupid enough to let him go, Sam's not coming here.
No.
He's going to the highest bidder. Sam is going to get paid. It's very likely he's going to get paid via the Vikings. But if it's not, someone is going to pay him. And with our situation, with Aaron Rodgers' money still being on the books, right? With a pretty high dead cap hit, if they get rid of him, was it $49 million? You're not going to be able to pay someone like Sam. So you have to leave it with Tyrod and suck. Likely Tyrod gets hurt halfway through the season. Jordan Travis comes in. Or, in my opinion, you go get Justin Fields. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in J.J. McCarthy, but that evaluation has to be spot on. And you don't know what the evaluation was for the previous regime because they're gone. Right? Whoever you're bringing in.
Well, they had the chance to grab him if they wanted to. I know they had Rodgers, but he was on the board when we were there. We passed up on him for Fashano when we traded with the Vikings.
Right, but obviously in that situation, you are thinking in your head, I have a 4-time MVP quarterback. He's coming back. He's going to be healthy. I got to protect him because I screwed up the Becton pick. And Olu's going to be a fantastic player.
Yes.
He's going to be our left tackle for a very long time. Okay? Simpson needs to come back. You have Tittman. AVT is coming back. That line for the most part is going to be the same. You just need to figure out the right tackle position. To be honest.
Right? Maybe they go tackle in the first round. I mean, you see a guy like Kelvin Banks coming out at Texas.
I wouldn't be opposed to it because, again, there is no quarterback in this draft worth taking. And that's why we're sitting here talking about guys like J.J. McCarthy and Justin Fields. I would be okay with either one. I would rather see Justin Fields because I think the boomer bust situation works out better for you. If it's a bust, you have a top 10 pick. If it's a boom, you have Justin Fields. If you take J.J. McCarthy and you spend that draft capital for him to sit behind Tyrod Taylor, that is a recipe for failure. That's a bad decision by a brand new regime coming in.
Let me ask you this. I personally feel it depends what you want to do with the quarterback, what the GM wants to do, but that's also going to determine what kind of head coach you bring in. If you're willing to go the Justin Fields route, where you're going to say, bring in Justin Fields, you're going to have Taylor and Travis, and you know what? We're going to go into the spring open competition. Whoever wins it, wins it. Flat out. There's going to be no advantage here or there. If you're doing that and not planning on developing a quarterback next year, see, look, now this is where it gets interesting. If you bring in a guy like Mike Vrabel, who I personally like, I know I got a lot of flack when it comes to Jeff fans in regard to him, but he's a winner in my mind. He's a winner. Yep. We all know why he got fired with Tennessee. It had nothing to do with his coaching ability. But he's the kind of guy that you'll end up bringing in. You'll probably win 6 or 7 games and end up with the 12th or 13th pick and still not be high enough to get a quarterback. So that's why I'm saying a lot of it depends who you're bringing in as head coach. If you're bringing in a first guy like Liam Cohen, or you're looking at a guy like Brady from the Bills, odds are most coaches are not crazy successful in their first year. I could see Vrabel with the talent we have on our team, Pat. Remember, Jermaine Johnson's coming back. Will McDonald's only getting better. Quinnen Williams will 100% be a better player under a guy like Mike Vrabel. Yes, DJ Reed's gone. Aaron Rodgers is gone. Let's not forget about the story about Mike Vrabel, what happened to their second round pick there in Tennessee. Their second round pick showed up late to camp, walks over to the players, and Vrabel looked up at him and said, "This is a players only meeting." And he looked at him like, "I am a player." And he said, "No, you were cut. We are together as one. And if you're not with us, you're against us. So get the hell out of here." He's that kind of coach. And I'm telling you, you bring in a guy like Mike Vrabel, you're going to win 6 or 7 games next year, maybe even 8. If you get okay quarterback play, I mean, think about this, Pat. I was at a ton of games this year. We went to the first game. It's like there were guys, the guys open all over the place that we were just
Yeah.
not getting into. How many throws did Rodgers miss this year? If you hit 2 or 3 of those throws, how many games did we lose by 1 possession? Greg DeLight can't make a field goal for crying out loud. This team was a flip of the coin from winning, 8 or 9 games to where we are now. And with better quarterback play, and let's be honest, coaching matters in the NFL more than any other sport. Everybody knows that. You bring in a
Coaching
guy
and
like
scheme. Coaching and
yes,
scheme matter.
and you bring
Rodgers
in a
right
guy.
now,
Yep. Yeah.
Rodgers is not playing within a scheme.
No,
That
he's
has
playing
always
for
been my
himself.
argument. He's not only he's playing for himself. I wouldn't say
I think
that.
he
but
is. I mean, he's
playing
only throwing
within
for Adams.
but
Let's be
he's
real.
only playing a collection of plays that each week that he's comfortable with, and he's changing everything at the line. You can see it. He's running the clock all the way down to 2 seconds, 1 second, because he's trying to
Yep.
find the perfect play. How many times have you watched Aaron Rodgers roll out of the pocket, be able to basically run for an easy first down, and you're trying to force the ball down the field, and then you're punting the next
Yep.
play? Or
There's enough talent on this team
there's no
where
scheme.
you bring in a guy
There's
like
no
Vrabel.
offensive scheme.
They're going to win
Yeah.
some games next year. They're not going to be. Think about some of the teams around the league. If Caleb Williams doesn't take a step next year, they're going to be awful. The Giants have a great defense or front seven. Outside of that, there's a lot to be desired. They're going to have a rookie quarterback. Look at Carolina. They're not making strides. Look at New England. New England's going to win 3 games. Will they be better next year? Yeah, but even if they double their win total, we're still a better team than them with a guy like Mike Vrabel at the helm. So we're not going to lose enough games next year. That's why, for me, I'm trying to explore other options. If you bring in a guy like J.J. McCarthy and you have Mike Vrabel in, you might actually win 9 or 10 games next year. There's a ton of talent on this team. Sauce Gardner is going to be here. Jermaine Johnson. You have Sherwood. I think they'll end up bringing him back. You have Quincy. This defense is a very good defense. You add a guy like Mike Vrabel in, it changes everything. We always knew every game, Pat. We've spoken about this before here and on Spaces. Every single game we play, we have the worst coach. Whether it's Robert Saleh or Ulbrich, who we have there now, we are dead last in the NFL when it comes to coaching ability in a sport where coaching means so much. So bringing in a guy like Vrabel, even if he's the 17th best coach, we're winning more games than we did this year. There's no doubt in my mind. So that's why it's very easy to look towards next year for a quarterback. But in my mind, it's not sensible because we'll be drafting 14 and nobody moves from 14 to 1 without giving up 4 first-round picks.
I agree.
And we're already
And
missing future picks. We got to pay for Hassan freaking Reddick because the great Joe Douglas gave up a 3rd-round pick for a guy who didn't want to be here. Think about that. The ineptitude of this organization.
Yeah. But I am all on board for getting Mike Vrabel here, but in reality, I don't see it happening. I want him here, but I don't think it's going to happen just because he's got options.
Yep,
he's the best. He's the best guy on the market right now. He's going to have better options than coming to this team. I think realistically, and Samini said it on his podcast, it's likely going to be someone like Aaron Glenn.
Oh, gosh.
He said it on his podcast. Vrabel is a long shot. Aaron Glenn is very likely going to be the guy,
I'll be
in his
happy with any
opinion.
three of these, Pat.
I would be
You're
happier with Rex Ryan coming back than Aaron Glenn.
Don't
I
give me
will
that
say
crap.
that. I will say it.
Here are the three that I'm comfortable with. Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohen. Any of those
Not
three,
Brady?
I don't think Brady's going to get a job. I just don't. I think
Okay.
he's still a year away. If they got Brady, I wouldn't be crazy upset. I'll be livid if it's Glenn or Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan, guys, I know the fan base loves him, but he proved one thing. If he doesn't have great players all around, remember, he had 4 first-round picks on that offensive line. 4. Great running back in Thomas Jones. You had great
That
receivers
Mangini had it. That
all over the
Mangini brought
place.
in. 4
Right,
first-round picks that Mangini brought.
but that's what I'm saying. If Rex Ryan was a good head coach, he would have made it work in Buffalo, and he didn't. That scheme that he has on defense got figured out by the NFL. I'm not saying you can't win anything with Rex Ryan, but you're not winning a Super Bowl. I think Vrabel's got a better schematic scheme. Liam Cohen, what he's done with Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers is unprecedented, and obviously Johnson. He's probably my 1A to Vrabel because what he's been able to do in Detroit with that offense now over multiple years. It's not like Liam Cohen's been successful 1 year when it comes to Baker Mayfield. Johnson with Detroit has turned Jared Goff into a top-notch quarterback. They have talent blossoming all over the place. There's a new scheme every single. He's like the new Kyle Shanahan, and that's the other point for me. Rumor has it, and we had Armando, who reports is a senior writer for Fox Sports on our show On a Space, that he would not be surprised if a guy like the San Francisco Shanahan gets traded. I would give up my number 1 pick for him immediately. But those are my 4 guys. You want to say Shanahan, Johnson, Vrabel, Cohen. Anybody else is a disappointment in my mind. We need to develop a damn quarterback.
I agree, and that's where we're at. It's either going to be in our opinion, in JetCast's opinion, at the quarterback position, it's going to be either Tyrod, which is it's either Tyrod, and you're going to let that new organization, that new head coaching, front office, whatever you want to say, suck for 1 year, right? And get a high draft pick, or you're going to go out and get JJ McCarthy, spend a lot of draft capital to bring him in, or you're going to bring in someone like Justin Fields. I think those are the 3 options. I would not be surprised if one of those 3 guys is a starting quarterback for the Jets in 2025. Aaron Rodgers will not be coming back. I will put my paycheck on that he will not be coming back. Even if Vrabel does take the job, I don't see you have to be smart enough to say, look, this guy has had a great career, but he's clearly past his prime, and he's doing too much in the offense. He's trying to be the coordinator and the quarterback at the same time. That's to be honest, and I don't think anybody can actually do that. That's where we're at. Tyrod, JJ McCarthy, or Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields. You want JJ McCarthy. And I think both of us will be fine with Tyrod Taylor, knowing that the team is just going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's where it's at. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. And tomorrow we're going to have Nick Faria back from his extended holiday vacation, coming back with his live stream with a pregame of the Jets-Dolphins game. So talk to you guys soon, and go Jets, I guess.